Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Skagit Storytellers. This episode was not supposed to feature a musician, but if you listen, you'll hear about how my guest formed a band at Chuck E. Cheese. Also, he offers a pretty cool teaser at the end of the episode, so I'll have to have him back on. I met Bryan at the liquor store in Concrete, and within a few minutes, I realized that he'd make a pretty rad podcast guest. So enjoy this episode. One note about it, though, I recorded this in the summer. I talk about my radio show that I'm going to start and how I'm going to have guests on each week that will showcase songs that are important to them. Well, guess what? I did it. Actually feels really cool to hear me say that I'm going to do something and then know that I actually followed through. So go say hi to Bryan at the Hub. All right, our Washington Records feature of the week is Tim Meckling. I chose Tim because he's got an album release party coming up on Friday, October 27th. Find Tim on Facebook and get his address from him or Hannah. Costumes highly encouraged. So I'm going to play a clip from his song Hornet's Nest from his new album, Vandal Hands of Man. If you know me, I am a sucker for good lyrics. So here you go.
Loving you, just like cardiac arrest. Losing you, made my heart a hornet's nest.
All right, couple great shows coming up. Cascade Cody and his Unpulled Bootstraps, Corey Vincent and the Electric Band, and Lazy Acres are playing at Buxton's and Anacortes on Saturday. That's this Saturday, the 21st. Tickets are only $15 at the door. Olive and I will be there, helping out, doing whatever needs to be done. But two other shows are happening. The Dimes are playing with Levi Ware that night as well on the 21st on Saturday at the Conway Muse. And if that were enough, if you're upriver, check out Bare Feet at Rockport. All right, that's Saturday, but Friday, Michael David's playing at the Cedar Woolley Eagles. If you haven't seen Michael David yet, he's got a website that features like 400 songs that he can play. You request online and he'll play it. He also does improv. So check out this short clip of a song that he made up on the spot in my studio the very first time that we met.
But I will take this dark expo marker. I will leave my name up on your false comedy store wall. Yeah, your false comedy store wall. It'll say Michael David in a corner real small, yeah.
But that's not the only show on Friday. Cascade Cody is playing at Lyman Tavern as well. So if you want to support the Washington Records feature from last week, go check them out. I think that's it. Halloween's coming up. My radio show is actually on a Tuesday from 6 to 8 every Tuesday. So I'll be pre-recording the Halloween show at some point so I can take Olive trick-or-treating. She still doesn't have a costume. Every time we go to Spirit of Halloween, that store in the mall, it's closed. So I don't know what's up with that. All right, thanks for listening and putting up with my delayed recordings. I recorded with two awesome guests on Sunday, this past weekend, and I decided I think I'm only going to record with maybe 2 or 3 more until possibly early 2024. I have such a backlog of wonderful episodes that need to be published, so stay tuned for a lot more Skagit Storytellers. All right, have a great week. I'll see you guys at Buxton's on Saturday, but if not, I hope you are at the Muse or Rockport. And as always, go do something hard.
Howdy, partner. Welcome to one of the most northern parts of the United States of America. Travel with me upriver as we talk to a bunch of ladies and fellers and they share their tales of wit and wisdom. That's right, it's time again for Skagit Storytellers with Liz Rankin.
Okay, so I like to start these episodes with explaining how we met. So I
Okay.
met you at the liquor store. And
Classy.
you, I met you there because you saw a typewriter and you wanted to buy it.
I was like, yeah, I saw the typewriter sitting there. I was like, might as well ask. There's probably more.
And I was like, you like typewriters? I love typewriters. I can't remember. Did we talk about my podcast or the radio, or how did this come up, like recording?
I'm not sure. I think it was because you mentioned the podcast, I think. And I was like, I got some cool stories.
I like to name drop
my
podcast a lot.
Yeah, well, I can do a lot of name dropping if you want today. I've
just make a list.
Fun
No.
stuff.
Actually, before we get into that, though, you told me that you were on the Concrete radio station for a couple of years.
Yeah, the Cardboard Box.
Okay, what was that show about?
We would do 2 hours every Tuesday. I think it was like, what?
From 6 to 8?
No, from 10 to noon.
Okay.
It was 10 to noon.
Okay.
And we just play all sorts of music, and we would just talk about stuff. We did a lot of, like, me and my girlfriend met on an off-grid farm, like a permaculture farm, so we talk about permaculture stuff and have guests on and
cool.
Have local people on talking about certain stuff.
And why was it called the Cardboard Box?
Because you can pretty much make anything out of it.
Oh, okay. Have you seen the video for Kane's Arcade?
No.
This kid in California would make little arcade games, and then he made a whole arcade in his dad's store, and then some guy found it, and he made a documentary about it. It's amazing. Yeah, he didn't have any customers ever until this guy.
Really?
And then the guy made a documentary and put it on Facebook. Jack Black showed up and played. So it's this movement about, like, it's called Kane's Arcade. And so I think the kid's in college now.
Wow.
But I show it to my students every year, and they just, I did it my first year. When you're a first year teacher, you do lots of crazy stuff. I did it my first year, and it was really fun. The reason why I wanted to bring up the radio is because I have a radio show now.
Really? Up at 90.1?
Yeah.
Nice.
Do you know that movie, Garden State?
I've heard of it.
With Zach Braff. It's got a really great soundtrack. So there's this moment in the movie when he's in a waiting room with Natalie Portman, and they're talking a bit, and then he says, "What are you listening to?" And she said, "The Shins." And he said, she said, "Do you know them?" And he said, "No." And she said, "Oh, you got to listen to the song. It'll change your life, I swear." And there's such a great point in the movie. And so he's just listening to it and looking at her. And so I'm going to call my show, This Song Will Change Your Life with Liz Rankin.
Nice.
Because I feel like there's so many songs out there that, I don't know, they just like hit you at the exact moment in your life. And movies do it too, but in books and poems.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to do songs. So.
I have a couple artists that I've been listening to for quite a while that, like, it seems like it follows, like, you manifest your own universe, right? And so, like, manifesting all these people singing my thing at me, and then, I don't know, I'm an artist, and I kind of fell flat and went without it for a long time, and there's a lot of art that I really wanted to do, and now people are coming out with exactly what I wanted to do, and I'm, like, loving it, and I'm like, damn it, like, come on.
That could have been me.
Like, documentaries, stuff like that, like,
yeah.
For doing that whole traveling bit and all that like I had gold, and then they came out with there's this place, Jersey Style Films came up, and we were having meetings with the producers. We got like $10 million in funding to start making this into a film, and then it started to get real weird. They completely changed the whole view of the whole thing, and they wanted to make like me the protagonist, when I was like, no, this is about that story, not about me telling that story. Like, so I just kind of went whatever with it.
Yeah.
But
we were just talking about art and how.
Oh yeah, and then what's it called came out? Nomadland.
Yeah.
I was like, you son of a. Like, are you kidding me? I did that like 5 years before that was even a concept.
So what's the lesson here?
Well,
execute quickly before someone else does.
Yeah.
But everything's already been done. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it's
someone
about
puts
your
out
own
a love
spin
song,
and inspiration.
someone else has done it. You know?
Yeah, but for me, stuff like that is more about like an outlet and an expression type thing.
Right.
And if I do this, it makes me feel better.
Yeah.
Like, I don't go fishing because I like to eat fish. I go fishing because it's therapeutic.
Yeah.
And, I just love killing other animals for fun. No.
We have
Just
rabbits
kidding,
in the
but-
back that we kill.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I killed a rabbit with a stick up at SEER school. We were doing a survival school in the military.
Oh.
And we had to take out the eyeballs and eat the
Wow.
whole thing. It was a survival school, so it was pretty interesting.
Wow.
Pretty hardcore.
Before we get off the radio topic, so you should co-host with me sometime. I'm not gonna have
Let's
a
do it.
co-host, but I just want different people to come every week. When we also first met, you told me about I think I asked you about maybe your tattoo, the dragonfly.
Yeah, the dragonfly.
And then it led into the movie, the film, and your production stuff. And yeah. So
I think that's how that segued into all.
Yeah, because you moved to Slab City first, and then like you didn't go there with the intention of like, I'm gonna film this.
I didn't go to Slab City. I didn't even know I was going to Slab City.
Okay.
I was just started driving, and I had my camera stuff, and I was like, might as well make something of this mental breakdown, right?
Okay.
And have something to put the energy and kind of motivation to keep going type thing.
Okay. So you left from here. Wait, are you from here?
Yeah, pretty much. I grew up from 3rd grade on in Cedar Woolley.
Oh, okay.
And before that, we were in Mount Vernon. But when I was real young, like before school age, we were Virginia, Hawaii, military stuff.
Oh, okay.
So
got it. Okay. So then you graduated from here?
Kind of.
Okay. You finished your schooling
got a lot of
here?
bumps in the road. Kind of. I was failing miserably because there's a lot of issues, a lot of like what I thought was ADHD and mentally, but it turned out there was a lot of trauma that was like I couldn't manage a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And so school was just one of those annoying things I just have to do. So I was failing. I was like 12 credits behind my senior year.
Yeah.
And they're like, you're going to have to go to summer school. You're going to have to blah, blah, blah. So without telling them, I took my credits and I transferred them to Alger Learning Center.
Oh.
And then I was over 6 credits for their graduating requirements.
Oh, wow.
And so we met up with them. I transferred them. They printed me out a diploma like first semester of my senior year. So I like graduated before everybody when I was failing miserably.
Oh, wow.
But then I joined the Marine Corps. And so I was in the Marine Corps slated for what job I was going to do there before my class even graduated.
Oh, wow.
And so I was through boot camp and I was through my selection process when they walked.
So where's boot camp? Is that here?
MCRD San Diego, Marine Corps Recruit Depot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you did boot camp, and then did you go overseas? And
no, I got a cush job.
Okay.
I got a cush
on
job.
purpose?
No, I thought it was gonna be pretty badass.
Okay.
But it ended up, just like everything in life, it's more hyped up than real.
Yeah.
But no, my body was falling apart since I started. And so I was just powering through it. And there wasn't any physical evidence, like x-rays. They would do, so you're fine. There's no nothing on x-rays. But it was like a really progressive autoimmune condition. So having to do all this stuff, that's why I can't move my wrist anymore.
Oh, okay. Is there a name for it?
It's psoriatic arthritis.
Okay.
I got diagnosed with a couple of ankylosing spondylitis and a few other. But with autoimmune, it's like one thing is wrong with you. And whatever part of whatever it affects your body is what they call it. So if it affects your spine, it starts fusing your spine.
Oh.
Then that's ankylosing spondylitis. But if it's affecting your skin, if you have psoriasis along with those conditions, the psoriatic arthritis encompasses 5 different autoimmune conditions.
And so which one do you have?
I have ankylosing spondylitis and psoriatic arthritis.
Okay. So that prevented you from being active in the Marine?
From doing too much. By the end of it, I was going through a pair of boots every about 6-8 months because I had to get blood stains because my feet had yeah. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just kind of tell you a little story about that. So I went to boot camp. My brother had graduated a year after me, or a year before me, and I had all of his drill instructors. So that was fun in itself.
Okay.
But I joined the infantry because my oldest brother passed away in 2004 in Iraq.
So you have 2 brothers?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so my oldest one passed away in Iraq. And then so my dad was a Marine. I naturally joined the Marine Corps. And so then all the infantry got pulled out, and they're like, hey, there's this program that, and they started showing this slideshow of all the first world leaders and stuff like that. And you're just like, okay, what the heck is going on? Because you're beaten, starved, and you're scared, and you're in boot camp for however long, and they're sitting here telling you all this cool stuff, and it's what's the catch?
Yeah.
But there was 8,000 people there, and then out of that 8,000 the selection group, there was 7 of us that got chosen.
7?
Yeah, through the whole process. It was a few
7,000 or 7?
7. And then out of that 7, 3 of us made it through the program.
And you made it?
Yeah, I was one of them. So. Wow.
So what were they what are they looking for?
They tell you to make you feel better. They look for the top top 2 or 3% of the Marine Corps infantry. So you're talking your your math scores, all your mental scores and all your physical scores and your rifle scores and all of the things that you can do, and they try to pick the best people out of that have all that.
Okay, so it wasn't physical. It was just like
it was
academic.
physical too.
Oh, okay.
It was very physical.
That's amazing. So you got picked out of 8,000 people.
Yeah.
That's really impressive.
Yeah, it sounds cool, but they do a rotation like every
Don't
few
downplay
weeks.
it.
They do rotate like they do like 2 selection groups a month.
Yeah.
And so they get, like I can't tell you how many people were at where I was stationed, but it was a very small number, but we had to keep them consistent. And it's a small world because I was up there at base, and a buddy of mine from high school walked by.
What?
And I went to Siege High School with him. And we're just like, oh,
That's
what's
cool.
up, dude? And he's like, what are you doing? I was like, what the heck are you doing here? And then I guess, so.
Neat.
2 people at Siege High School went through this, which is weird because hardly anybody. Like I got a presidential support badge that you get for however many years of service, and it's like this gold, big, heavy badge thing. I lost it. I don't know where it's at. That's how much I care about it, But I was like a 27,000 something of my serial number, and that's in order of how many people have ever in the history of the presidential support program have ever gotten that.
Oh wow.
So anybody at the White House, Pentagon, anybody like that does so much time in service directly to the president gets it. And
oh cool.
so I was like, I think it was like 28,000 something was my number. So since however long ago. So that's not a very big number.
No. I was going to say you should find that. That sounds pretty cool.
Technically, I can just call the White House and get another one.
Can we do it right now?
Probably. I would have to look up some phone numbers, but yeah, I could call.
You're
up.
on air.
Yeah. I could call and be like, "Excuse me, is this sock down at Camp David?"
Okay, so how long were you in the military or in the Marine Corps?
4 years.
4 years. Okay.
Yeah.
And did you leave on your own accord?
Yeah, they offered to have me medically separated because I had surgery on my foot, and there's a bunch of stuff going wrong with the bones. They thought it was a bone infection, so they almost cut off my leg.
Oh, wow.
But it wasn't a bone infection, so
that's
good thing they didn't.
Yeah.
Because
normally you'd have to be in for, 20 years?
20 years to retire.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they said I can get out medically, and then you have only so many benefits you have to get out medically. But if you decide to finish the term, then I'd be put into an admin role.
Okay.
And so I got put into an admin role because...
For how long?
For about a year and a half.
Okay.
Almost 2 years.
Yeah. So you were, 23 at the time?
21.
Oh, 21.
Mainly 2021.
So you started when you were 16? 17?
No, I started about 2 or 3 weeks after my 18th birthday.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. How long is boot camp?
3 months. I got up to Camp David in, I'd say, I think it was December, like a fall, winter time of 2005.
Okay.
So it was a year of training because I started boot camp in January 2005.
Okay.
So,
And then after you were in the Marines for 4.5 years, then what did you do? Or 5.5 years?
I went and I got a job doing security, like loss prevention.
Here in the Valley?
Yeah, here in the Valley.
Yeah. Did you like that?
I did. But then things started to really hurt a lot more because it was a full takedown, handcuff. There's lots of drugs, a lot of...
How often would you take someone down?
Once, twice a day. And I've learned to kind of chill out because...
So you didn't have to take all these people down? You just chose to?
Technically, well...
They're like,
technically
Bryan,
they asked for it. No, technically, no, it was good. But they told us, when I got the job, I applied to be a cashier, and then they saw my resume, and they're like, we have a loss prevention manager thing open. I was like, dude, I just want to do whatever.
Cashier,
they're like, yeah, no, do this. So I got hired there, and I was like, hey, what do I do? And they're like, I don't know. You're the manager, and they gave me all the paperwork. I got to create my own position.
Wow.
And my own job, and then the corporate guy trained me over the phone, and then come in and do my test to get certified to take people out and stuff.
You're like, I want to take out 2 a day.
Yeah, no. It got interesting. Oh my goodness, drugs are amazing entertainment. Sometimes.
So
did security at a Wachovia building in downtown Charlotte.
What's that? Wachovia?
It's a bank.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like this 34-story building. So that was pretty cool, like walking around with this. Because I don't know if you noticed, like if you go in high rises, there's these little magnet circles on all the doors that are kind of hidden.
Yeah.
And that's for security to have a little thing, and they do their checks, and they hit that little magnet thing, and it says they were there at this time.
Oh, okay.
And so that's how you know that the security people are doing all their checks.
Oh, okay.
And so I do that up 30-some stories.
Wow.
And it would take me, 4 or 5 hours. And it was just walking around this empty building.
Yeah.
Like completely empty office. It's like, I don't know if you heard of...
Nobody was in it?
No, because it'd be nighttime. It'd be
Oh,
closed.
you work at night. Okay.
Yeah. And then so you'd go up to the top of the roof up downtown Charlotte and have that whole thing. And of course you have to get like close to the edge and like crawl close and be like, and look down.
Yeah. Any ghost stories from that?
No ghost stories from that.
No.
A couple of times I got kind of weirded out though, because a place that's always so populated and having it be empty in every single room really feels what do they call them? There's this new trend going around, like the middle rooms or something like that.
Oh,
you ever heard of those?
That? No.
Where like this is all simulation, and some people fall into these like middle things where it's like empty hallways. It's kind of like planet. It's like the planet or like a mall that's completely empty all of a sudden, like because they fell into a different dimension.
Oh wow.
Yeah, look it up. There's a whole thing on it.
So you did that in Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I did quite a bit of stuff.
Okay.
But it makes me kind of sound irresponsible because I haven't done anything for a long period of time. I did security thing for like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. What did you do after that?
Well, in between
you were the young age of 26?
26, 27.
Yeah.
I lived out in the beach house out in La Conner. It's gorgeous. $850 a month, little cottage. Oh, nice. With upper bedroom. Oh man, that was so stupid.
It's your favorite place you've ever
seen. And then I went and decided, getting married would be a good idea.
Did that not work out?
No, absolutely not. It totally wasn't even right. Like it was just like hey, we're here. All right.
How'd you know her? Like where'd you guys meet?
So we went to high school together.
Okay.
And we were in, never were interested in each other or anything like that. And then that Skagit bridge collapse happened.
Oh, yeah.
And then I mentioned
brought you together?
I mentioned the Mothman on Facebook.
Who's the Mothman?
You ever heard of the Mothman and the bridges?
No.
Come on, some people out there are going, okay, I got it.
Okay.
So the Mothman prophecies, Pleasantville or something like that, or
is that like
they
a
saw
local
sightings
thing?
of a monster thing.
No.
That looked like a big moth, and then they freaked out, and this is like a real story that actually
Bigfoot.
happened. And then and then a couple weeks later the bridge collapses, and the Mothman always has sightings in towns before major disasters or bridge collapse happens.
Oh.
And so I was like, did anybody see the Mothman? And other people understood it.
Okay.
So
she was one of them.
Yeah,
she's
and then
like,
she's like, haha, and I was like, oh hey, and then she came over, and then I guess it was history from there. But she ended up being like, well, I own this house that I'm renting out in Clear Lake. Why don't we just move there instead of paying rent here, $850
at your beautiful beach
mortgage.
house?
Yeah. And so I left that, and then
Yeah.
And now it's like $2,200 a month over there.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Well, your rent would have gone up anyway.
It would have gone up, but I mean, I would have incrementally moved up with it.
Yeah. How long were you married for?
Almost 2 years.
Okay.
Almost 2 years, and that's what actually led me to hitting the road. This whole
to go south.
Yeah. Because that whole thing was
Yeah.
just didn't work out, if you will. But I got my dog out of it. Life is funny. Yeah, if you're like, I'm gonna go check this box off because I have to, and you're like, oh, this check sucks.
So did you feel like you had to get married? Like that
Kinda,
was what?
yeah, there was a
late
lot of
20s, like
kind of like something to
do
prove
it.
type thing. It's like, hey, I can be an adult too, you know.
God, it's so overrated.
And you so do, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
it's pretty stupid.
Yeah, yeah. I just feel like once I turned 40, it was like, oh, none of the rules are like these rules are fake.
That's like with doing the presidential stuff and doing a lot of stuff I've done. It's like just do it.
Yeah.
It's not even unreachable. It's like your biggest barrier to get past. It's like a photography. What I used to say is like the number one rule of photography is being there.
Oh,
you have to actually I do riots and stuff like that, and just be in the middle of the pepper spray and stuff, and get these amazing photos. And and people, I didn't know you could do that. Well, it's like just show up,
just go.
Like play the part. Like you know how many times like I've done
like fake it till you make it.
Yeah. like me and a friend of mine, she was just a friend, we were on a ferry ride to the islands.
Yeah.
And a guy walked up, and then I just immediately like told him, I was like, hey, I just proposed to her. She said yes. Can we get like something special? And she, like took us to the cabin room, took us to the steering thing. They're like, oh, that's so cute. And I'm like, just play along. And we got to go to the engine room and got this full tour. And she didn't have to kiss me once. So it was very convincing. It was good.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah. I worked at Chuck E. Cheese in high school.
Did you like working at Chuck E. Cheese?
You know what? All of my friends worked at Chuck E. Cheese. I was in a rock band, and so all of the band worked at, all of our groupies worked at Chuck E. Cheese. But it was one of those, like, couple of us worked there, and then all of us just started getting a job there because we were all friends. Yeah. And so, like, for a holiday party one year, we had the whole Chuck E. Cheese stage and everything, so we brought in our band equipment, and we had, like, a rock show for the company party.
Like, on the stage with all the characters?
Yeah. So.
Wait, so what band were you in?
Change for a Penny.
Okay.
It wasn't big locally. I mean, we headlined a couple show down in Tacoma.
Oh, okay. Did you play around here?
Yeah, we played like at the Common Grounds around here. We in high school when we were playing, we put on the talent show. So the thing is, it's kind of funny how they said that, because at the time we were negotiating a record deal.
Oh. While
we were in high school with Drive Thru Records.
Wow.
I don't know if you heard Drive Thru Records.
No.
They're way out of business now.
I think the only record label I know is Sub Pop.
Oh. But that's Drive Thru Records had stuff like, I don't know, you might have heard of Finch, something corporate.
No. So they're local.
No, they're national. They do Warped Tour and stuff like that.
Okay.
But it was like this emo punk rock of the early 2000s.
Is that what you were? Emo punk rock?
Kind of.
Like what popular band would you say you kind of sounded like?
I don't agree with this, but a producer said that we were a cross between Green Day and Blue Oyster Cult.
Okay.
And I was like,
what would you
I don't
say?
hear it.
What would you say?
I don't know. I wrote all the music and lyrics and stuff, so it was more of a, I don't know. It was just me. And then other people would hear it, say that sounds like that, but I don't hear it because I just hear the art that I put into it.
Yeah. No, I've heard that from other artists. Do you not play anymore?
I just recently had to stop playing
because of all your injuries.
Yeah, because I got that tip of my finger, and that's really sensitive, so I can't push it down. So I'd have to get more dexterity in there. And then these two middle fingers have two big screws through the center of each bone because they got split in half.
Wow.
And so it's all sewn, like my finger is sewn back on, and then there's screws.
Do you just play the guitar then?
Yeah.
Yeah. And sing.
I want to learn piano. Oh, I don't sing. I do sing.
Oh.
But nobody else knows.
Well, you said you wrote everything, so
yeah. So I'd write everything, but
for someone else.
Yeah, our lead singer. Yeah. I'd be like, hey, it goes like, and he'd be like, you mean? That'd be like exactly.
Hey, that was really good.
Oh yeah. Well, I can sing. I just don't have that.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
But I remember like back in it was 5th grade at a talent show, and I thought it was super cool. Oh, this is so embarrassing to think about. I'm feeling hot.
Let's hear it.
The River by Garth Brooks.
I don't know that song. I don't know a lot of Garth Brooks.
River.
Okay.
Yeah, anyway,
so
it's popular. Yeah, a cappella.
Okay.
In 5th grade in front of like all of the parents and all the I thought for some reason that was a good idea. I don't know why I thought it was a good idea.
Did no one applaud? Did no one
I can't remember because I like almost blacked out. I was just like
Well, good for you for trying.
Yeah.
Well, you got over it, and then you started the band. Well, I guess you didn't sing in the band, but
no, I didn't sing, but I did. I was I was like a 10th of the talent, just a fraction of the talent in the band. But I wrote all the music and I wrote all the lyrics.
Oh wow!
And I would pass it on to the people who could play their instruments really well, they turned it into like something really awesome. Yeah. So I'd have a vision, and they would just make that happen because I couldn't do that myself.
Yeah. Good. Okay, so then you left, and then you went south with your equipment.
Yes.
Not with any intention of doing anything, just
no. So I had this little Nissan, and I put a tarp over the roof, put all my stuff in the tarp, and packed the whole car full where I can fit my dog and my 2 cats.
Oh, your cats too.
Yep, in this little Nissan, right?
Yeah.
So everything was piled on top, and it caved the roof in.
Oh.
So the roof is just.
So you're driving like hunched down.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad, but it was pretty. The strap that was. So I'd put it all on top.
Yeah.
And I'd fold the thing over like a burrito.
Yeah.
And then strap that down, put another one over it, kind of like encompassing it it looked kind of like a Hershey's Kiss type thing.
Yeah.
And it goes around, and then I'd wrap it again, then I'd strap it down.
And you got pulled over. State Patrol's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, actually, that whole thing lasted, at least 5,000-6,000 miles of driving.
Wow.
Unpacking. Every time I needed something, that whole thing came apart.
Oh, man.
And so it was just packing and unpacking. And then when people started traveling with me, their stuff got added to it. And they want to, hey, man, like a homeless, like traveling musicians are like the amazing people. They'll do anything for you, but they're very, very particular. And it's weird when you don't have anything, you don't do anything to earn anything. You're really particular about. Like he'd go busking for an hour and get $15, and you'd have to go to a store and get a specific $14 beer. It's like, are you serious? You're like, well, if I'm gonna get it, it's gonna be nice. Anyway, a whole different tangent.
So you drove down south, and then how'd you end up in Slab City?
So I went to South Dakota first.
Oh, so you drove east.
I drove east. I went down to South Dakota. My grandmother spent some time with her because she had cancer for a bit, and then so that was the last time I really saw her before she passed away. And so I lived with her for a few months in her basement.
Oh, okay.
I kind of grew up there as a kid, kind of visiting down there, so that was kind of cool.
Nice.
I'd go to the YMCA and go swimming and do whatever. And then in the middle of winter, I always choose the worst time for road trips. It's always like in the middle of winter, or I start driving at like 11 o'clock at night.
Why?
And I set off from North Carolina at like 11:30 at night. I was like, all right, I think I'm just going to go now. I don't want to go in the morning. But I think it misses a lot of traffic, though. The way if you time it out and you leave at the right time, if you see where each city is at, you can be like, okay, I'm going to be in between rush hour in all of these cities, and you can just plan it.
So what was the point of leaving South Dakota in the winter?
I just felt like I just wanted to go do something.
Yeah.
I felt like
it was cold there.
Yeah, there's this weird thing because having doing a lot of stuff and having people say that you're so amazing, but having zero self-worth is a really interesting juxtaposition, if you will. It's so it was just like, screw it, I'm just gonna go do something and try to do something for myself. And it was kind of like I'm just gonna go find myself type thing.
Live up to the words that people are saying.
Yeah,
about
exactly.
You.
Try to convince yourself that it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went over there, and then I was like, hey, I'm gonna go do something. I don't know what I was gonna do, so I would do these little vlogs. In fact, I don't think there was vlogs back then. Probably 2015. There's vlogs.
I think so. Yeah.
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 I don't know.
Anyway. Like on YouTube, or
no, I just had them all to myself.
Oh.
I was pretty much creating all of this art stuff, and now I have all this art just hoarded.
Yeah.
And if I get like a first place trophy, I'm just gonna throw it on the ground in the corner of the closet and just like ignore it whenever they be like, you should put it up. It's like, why? Just so you can look at me.
So all these things you're making are just for you.
Yeah, pretty much, and just for my own thing. And then then every once in a while I'll have these little bursts of confidence.
Maybe
and then
I'll
it's
share
like,
this.
yeah, and then you go, oh yeah, then I was playing shows at the range at Slab City, all this stuff like that, and then like I kind of got insecure again, and I was just like deathly embarrassed. And you watch somebody do something really embarrassing, you feel it. You're like, oh,
like your 5th grade thing.
Yeah, and it's just like it's really cringy. It's like, oh, I did that. Oh, that's on film.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
But other people are like, no, that's great. It's like, oh yeah, you're a great bullshitter. But I decided to just go from South Dakota. I was like, this little video thing. I was like, well, I think I just head south, just somewhere
warmer.
Yeah, somewhere warmer.
Yeah. And
it was January. I think I set off January 1st. One of those.
Yeah.
And there's a ride share I did, and this guy in Pipestone, Minnesota. It's like an hour opposite away of going south, but he wanted to go to Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah.
Split gas money. Man, that guy was interesting.
Yeah.
I've had some really, I can name 3 people that I've met on the road that literally think they're Jesus.
Really?
But they're all correct, but their thinking is off. It's like it's off a little bit. It's like you're yeah, everybody's the same. We're all the same for you. All is one. Blah blah blah. Yeah, I get it. But they go, oh, all is one. When I am everything. That means Jesus is not different from me. That means I am Jesus. Oh my God, I have this responsibility. and they just fall apart. And I think that's what they call it, a God complex. But that
Oh.
God complex is really interesting to watch, like in real time.
Yeah.
Having somebody go through it and like talk to you as if,
In the car as you're driving.
But this guy, he was telling stories about, I believe him because there's a lot of stuff that I've done that I have information about that I know if somebody else is talking about it, if they say certain things, that's only inside need to know information. Like, they know that, But I guess he did some work with, like, was it Snowden, that one?
Oh,
guy.
the spy guy. Or
the
Edward,
NSA. He worked
Edward
at
Snowden,
he worked at the NSA. He said he worked in the same department, and when he left, all the jobs. So I was taking him down there to Phoenix because he needed to set up a whole computer network for a hospital down there for an Indian reservation. And so he had all of his equipment. Like, he was legit.
Wow.
So straight, but his fingertips were big and bulgy. He had this big bulgy head, and I guess he had a heart condition.
Oh.
So it was really interesting. So he's like, yeah, we can help drive, blah, blah, blah. And then on the way, he's like, oh, I can't drive for very long. I can't see. And then he's like, oh, I can't drive at night because of this. And I'm just like, dude, I'm just driving. We got 2 flat tires and a bunch of weird stories. Told me a bunch of weird stories.
Really?
But he told me a bunch of real cool stuff. He showed me like this TV satellites or those towers and stuff like that. If you're in the Midwest and you're driving, if it's clear night, you can see the signals.
Oh.
You can see bands in the sky going.
Really? Wow.
It's really cool. Like, but you wouldn't know unless you looked and knew what you're looking at.
So, do you think that that's like I always think about, okay, why did I have that, experience with that person? Like, what was that person supposed to like show me? What do you think?
I think that was prepping me for what was to come right after that.
Okay.
Because that was the first interesting person I met on the road, and we were stuck in a car together for how long? Yeah. I was kind of, I thought we were buddies, and I was. By the end of it, I dropped him off. I was like, hey man, well, he's like, yeah, cool, and he's like ghosted me from then on. Just never talked. I was like, yeah, I guess I was just a ride to begin with.
So he taught you about relationships.
Yeah, he taught me. Yep. I was like, that's why I got a divorce. People always do that. No. No. Then I went to BLM land. That's Bureau of Land Management.
Okay.
Nowadays,
Black
BLM
Lives
land.
Matter,
They're like,
yeah. I'm like, why do I know BLM?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So
Okay.
I went to BLM land down outside a quartzsite.
Okay.
And I got a tent for
What state is that?
Arizona.
Oh, Arizona. Okay.
Yeah. And so I got a tent, and I was in my car. And BLM land, you can pay like $40 for 2 weeks, or you can pay $140 for like a 4-month pass.
Oh, wow.
To stay in this area.
Yeah.
And there's like the Rock and Gem show, this big national one. It's like one of the biggest Rock and Gem shows out there. And I was out there for a bit, and I was like, okay, what's next? I'm just out here, just chilling,
With your 2 cats and your dog.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Oh, at this point, I'm sorry, I left my 2 cats in South Dakota. I had to give them up because I was about to do this whole thing, and
you probably couldn't bring them.
So yeah, I didn't have my cats at that point. I'd gotten rid of them maybe like a week and a half.
So just you had Gemma.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
And so Gemma was just like a year old.
And so how long did you stay at that BLM place?
So I was there for a couple weeks, and then I saw this car with all these troll dolls and rocks and painted, and it just looked really super eccentric.
Like glued on?
Yeah, like glued on.
I've seen that around here.
Yeah, and
there's a car like that here.
And it had a Washington State license plate.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, cool. And so I walked up, and there's this girl with just a tackle box on her face, tattoos just pierced everywhere. And I was like, hey, you from Washington? She's like, yeah, I'm from Oak Harbor. I'm like, oh, cool.
Oh, wow.
And she's like, you were traveling? I'm like, yeah. She goes, you ever heard of Slab City? And I was like, no. She goes, well, look it up, go find Slab City, go see Jack Two Horses, and then he'll hook you up. And I'm like thinking, I just got done with all this like corporate job stuff, and I'm going in the desert talking to this Pierce girl named Rabbit to go meet Jack Two Horses in this commune out in the desert, and he'll hook me up with whatever that is. Ended up being an interesting relationship. We could talk about this for hours.
You have to go. I mean,
I
if
don't
someone
have to go.
tells you that exact information.
Exactly. So
okay,
I called up my dad, and I was like, hey, this person just whatever. And then my dad sent me pictures. He's like, is this Jack Two Horses? Is this Rabbit? And I'm like, yep, we got it.
He just Googled them?
Yeah, he found them, and I got directions there, and then I pulled in, and I went around, and I was just looking, and then the first person I saw was Jack Two Horses.
Wow. And what year is this?
2015.
Okay.
And it was Jack Two Horses, and then I met him, and then I was like, hey, is there a place? He's like, no, this is only for, like, cool kids or whatever you say. And I was like, yeah, and he's just like, we don't do tourists or whatever, because, I mean, I just look like normal, out there is not normal. And I was like, well, Rabbit sent me. He goes, oh, there's a place right over here. And then set me up under this tree and got a tent going.
Password is Rabbit.
Yeah, the password is Rabbit. And so that's how I met Jack Two Horses, which is a whole different. Okay. I mean, we could do a whole series on stories on that.
How long were you in Slab City then?
For a few months that time.
Okay.
And
then you left.
Yep, that was the magical part, because like you first get there and you just figure out there's whole other hippie world that exists, and everybody's free loving, and you're just like, yes. I'm coming out of the Marine Corps and all this like rah rah rah, and I was like, oh, there's but then it becomes too saturated, and then it becomes too old, and then you're just like, oh, quit sitting around a campfire and do something about it. It's like, shut up.
Because you were there twice.
I was there 3 times.
Oh, 3 times.
Once was just like a 2-week trip.
Okay. But the first time you were there for a few months was like the honeymoon phase.
Yeah, that was definitely the honeymoon phase.
Oh, this is like Woodstock.
Yeah, it's like you had hot springs and everybody was just free, naked, nobody cared, which I
no
still love that. I
judgment.
still love that concept. Like, there's a place where you can go and everybody can you meet half the people naked already. But it's not even like a thing in your mind that you're naked. It's just everybody's there and we're doing like, hey, I'm this person, blah, blah, blah. Nobody's like oogling at people or anything like that. And I thought that was really cool because it's like, wow, it's actual humanity without that, whatever. So like most of the friends I made are the best friends I still have today, and I met them naked.
Right.
So, yeah. I was like, okay,
all right.
I'll roll with this. All right.
So it was. So you obviously didn't leave because you had to. You had to leave for a little bit.
I left because a friend of mine that I made there, Elijah and Rosa, they were 18 and 19 at the time. She was pregnant and she was due in 3 months. Oh, so there's a whole different story if you want to hear it. But
so you had to leave, or you left to help them?
Yeah, so he was in this group of people, and he was like, hey, is anybody going to Washington, blah, blah, blah. And I had plans to leave. I was like, hey, I can go to Washington. Yeah. Like, that's where I'm from. I can swing back home. And he's like, well, it's probably out of your way. And I'm like, where? He goes, Oak Harbor. And I was like, really? The second person.
You know Rabbit?
Yeah, right? Rabbit? But that was Rosa's aunt's place. And they were going to go have the kid there. Okay. And so I was like, yeah, come on in. So, me and this Nissan, there's 3 people in the back seat, front driver seat. Yeah. And then there's Gemma. Yeah. And then there's all of our stuff on top of the car.
And it's caved in.
And so on the way, we went to a rainbow gathering. And,
what's that?
It's pretty much a gathering of kitchens. Like, people have like school buses, and you hear about like gypsies and
food
stuff.
Trucks?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
But like school buses and renovated things, and all of these kids that the whole rainbow family is a whole subculture that is a whole can of worms. But it's pretty much rainbow family means anybody's welcome. It's as misfits of society. They all travel together and kind of like gypsy it, if you will. Okay. And then,
so you stopped in there on the way.
Yeah, and we stopped at a huge rainbow gathering. Pretty much as a group of these people that get together. There's a hierarchy. There's a government with it. It gets pretty crazy. But we stopped there.
And where was that?
That was like outside of Sanford, Arizona.
Oh, okay.
And that's where Gemma got obsessed with rocks, my dog.
Oh. Because
we were finding geodes and stuff out there like crazy. And everybody's like looking at these geodes. And then she'd start looking, and then she just looks for rocks ever since.
Really? So. Your dog looks for rocks?
Oh, she can't, like, you turn around for a second, rock.
Like, she has it in her mouth?
Yeah. She doesn't chew them or anything. She just picks them up. She's like, and it's...
How about this one?
When we go out there and go get her, she's probably going to have a rock in her mouth.
Really?
Yeah, and it's messing up her teeth.
Oh, no.
And there's, like, nothing I can do about it. Nothing I can do other than putting a muzzle on her and keeping constant eye on her.
So that started her obsession.
Yeah, started her obsession. Which that was a whole nother different story.
I've never heard that. Okay, so Rainbow, and then you kept traveling up north.
And we stopped in San Francisco and dropped off another person, which is weird. You make really good friends, like lifetime bonds with these people, and they're like, oh, I'm going to San Francisco. And you're okay, we get there. And they're like, okay, man, see you later. It's like, you're not dropping them off anywhere. You're just dropping them off on the side of the road in the middle of a city and going, peace out.
Yeah.
But that's how they live. That's how they love it. And, I never heard from him again, but I don't know what happened. His name is Luke, but
I'm sure Luke is fine.
Yeah.
Okay, then you, after San Francisco, then just came up north.
Yeah, so it was me, Elijah, and Rosa, and we were coming up north, and we were going through, we decided to go take the 101, more scenic route. And so it was just us three, and going over Grants Pass in the morning, she started getting contractions and stuff. Now, I'm like 27, 28.
How old are they?
18, 19.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
pretty sure one of them was 17. But
Okay.
he got her pregnant because they were train hopping together. Like, they get on trains and travel on trains.
Yeah.
So they were they do that, and they like actually they're really like in that culture. They're actually kind of big name people.
There's a culture for everything.
Oh, it's very
Jeez.
Interesting. Yeah. So when people are like, "Oh, you're hanging out with homeless people," it's like, no, there are subcategories. Like, there's people that smell that sleep in their piss and cardboard, and then there's people who play guitar and they still smell like piss, but at least they're doing something for their money. Or like, But I've ran into the same kids in all these different cities because there's like a circuit. And you can like travel the circuit and you can see the same people as we go. And so I was traveling with these people, and
So
they knew everybody in every city.
Did she give birth in your car?
Pretty dang close.
Oh my
So
gosh.
we stopped at this gas station
In Grants Pass.
in Grants Pass, and we were like, we did this whole road trip with no money. So we had to do what's called jugging.
Okay.
I learned all this the hard way. I was like, we're doing what now? And of course, I'm like filming it and doing all this stuff.
Oh, you're filming this?
Yeah, and I had my VA disability check coming in, so I had money.
Okay.
But I wasn't allowed to use it. So I had to be like, I couldn't touch my money. I had all this money, but we were sitting there not eating for like 2 days straight.
Okay. Wait, why couldn't you use it?
It's just part of the project because you have to like be there with them and do it and be one of them. And you can't just be like a producer eating a cheeseburger while they're like,
got it.
It's like 10 cents a day can save one hungry child.
Okay, anyway. So what's jugging?
Jugging, you just get a gas can, and instead of going asking somebody for like, hey, can I have $10 for gas or anything like that, as they're pumping, you go up and you start a conversation with, hey, can you help me out? And then they'll usually just, I'll give you a few because it's just actual gas.
I would do that.
Right. And then you try to provoke conversation and distract them.
Yeah.
And so the longer you can keep them distracted, the more gas you get in your can. And they were good at it. And we'd always send Rosa because she was the pregnant cute little one.
And she was very pregnant. Yeah.
Yeah, she was 6 months pregnant.
Yeah.
Anyway, so.
Oh, she was only 6 months?
She was only 6 months pregnant.
Oh my gosh.
So, so we that's why it was so weird. Like, boom, labor. I was like, what's going on? I called called my dad, and I was like, hey. He's like, this is what's going on. He's like, oh, she's in labor. I'm like, she's what?
You're like, well, I just Googled it, and those symptoms are labor.
Yeah, and so there's a guy that came in, and he filled our gas tank for us. Super cool guy. And he was like, hey, guys, it's fine, blah, blah, blah. And so think nothing of it. We get gas, and we were driving through, like, Medford.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, my God. And these people are street people. They're traveling kids. They're train hoppers. And so there's a cop behind us. And I'm like, nope. And so I put my hand. I was like, hey, I waved down the cop. They're like, dude, no cops. What are you doing? What are you doing? I was like, dude, they're here to help. Like they're public servants. Yes, I know you've had bad run-ins, man. But like, and the cop was like, hey, nope, ambulance right here, right now. Hauled Rosa away. We followed him. And I remember that conversation in the car. He recorded it. I don't have any of that video anymore, unfortunately. But he was just like, dude, like, I didn't know you could, like, ask the cops for help. I was like, yeah. And he's like, oh my God, like, that was amazing. Like, I have a whole new view on police officers. It's like, yeah, dude. Like, come on. Of course you do. Of course
That's
you
really
do.
cute.
But we got there, and she went into labor, and she was in the room, and she told the doctors to go get my camera, and so I filmed the whole thing, and she ended up giving birth 3 months preemie.
Oh my gosh.
And the baby was like 2.8 some pounds.
Oh my gosh.
And that was one of the only times behind a camera that I was just bawling my eyes out. And I'm like a 20-something-year-old Marine. Like, let's go get it. And it was just struck a chord. And I've never seen a childbirth live before.
Yeah.
And it was just this little thing, and then they followed him to the ICU, and they're treating this baby alive, and everybody's crying. Nurses, I was like, how do you guys do this for a living?
Yeah, every day.
Like, jeez, like a lot of respect for those people.
Yeah.
So they ended up having the kid. The kid ended up being in a little incubator thing.
Yeah.
In the specialty care and stuff like that. And they're poor. They don't have any insurance. They have nothing. And so the state covered most of it. And I guess he has an uncle that's like this rich lawyer, and they hooked him up and stuff. And so I ended up leaving them in Medford.
Oh, okay.
And they stayed with the baby at this lodging, and then I drove the rest of the way home by myself. So by the time I got home, I was alone.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah. and I was like, I'm this far up. It's like I might as well swing up.
Your dad's looking forward to seeing you. So you came back here, and then did you go back right away?
No, I ended up volunteering at an American Legion, because one of the big things I learned from that was you can't just sit there and talk about wanting to change things. You actually have to do it.
Yeah.
And
you told me this. And this was in Burlington?
Yeah, the Burlington Post 91.
Okay.
I say I was full of piss and vinegar. I pissed a lot of people off because I was like, "Hey,
we
need
there?
this." No, I was the commander.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
I was in charge. I was the president.
Okay.
If you will.
Okay. So what are you in charge of?
You're in charge of the post. We have different fundraiser stuff like bingo. There's different veterans events, parades.
Okay.
I opened a museum.
Oh.
And we got funding for a museum, which they just immediately tore down.
Oh, no.
There's a lot of cool stuff, though.
Okay.
A lot of cool stuff in that museum.
So how long were you there for?
I was a commander for a year, so I was there for about a year and a half.
Okay.
So.
And then you went back?
Kind of like right after that. Yeah, I went back right after I did the commander thing.
Okay, so after your 1 year working in Burlington, you probably were thinking, oh, Slab City.
Again.
That was like, because you were saying you were in that honeymoon phase.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very like, yeah.
Yeah, so in my head it was like, you'd never be homeless because you always have somewhere to go, man.
Yeah.
Like, you can always make it there. It is
so
what you
went
make
back
it.
There.
Yeah, I went back there. It's still.
All your stuff on your roof, Gemma, went back there.
Yep. Pretty much the same way, but it was just stuff inside my car. I had a lot less.
Mm-hmm.
Got rid of some stuff.
Yeah.
But just me and Gemma again. It was really cool. It was like a year and a half, 2 years later.
Yeah.
And I went up there, and people still knew who I was, and they're like, "Hey, Bam," because they call me Bam.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a lot of my friends call me Bam. It still catches me off guard because I'm not used to it as much.
What's the story behind Bam?
It's my initials, Bryan Allen Miller.
No, your name is Bryan Typewriter.
Yeah, Bryan BT.
I'll cut that out.
Yeah.
Okay, so you went down there, and when you went in, like, was it really evident right away that you're like, whoa, like, it wasn't like the first time? Like,
yeah.
Did you see it different eyes, like, immediately?
Yeah. So I don't know if you ever done LSD.
Nope.
But no, not gonna throw it into the best. No, but like everything
I'm
feels
winking at you.
like if you will, it's like that magical feeling of everything's like whoa, and you can have conversations about anything and you overthink every word, and your brain's firing all cylinders, and you're just like everything just seems so epic.
Okay.
That's how it was the first time.
Okay.
The second time it was kind of like hungover. Versus like being on a psychedelic to being more hungover, and it was a really weird start because it was just doomed to begin with. I met this girl down there, and she had this whole family, kids from like 5 to 20, and she had like 6 kids.
Wow.
And it was geez, dude, we could talk
Same
about it.
Dad?
No, and that should
6
have been
dads.
red flag, red flag. But it was magical.
Red
right?
Flags with Bryan Typewriter.
Exactly. Red Flags. Story of my life.
That could be your new radio show. Right? Red Flags.
So when I got there, Gemma hasn't been fixed yet.
Okay.
And so I'm wanting to have little puppies, and so there's these 2 dogs that were there that are just males, and they're just like hardcore into it. Like it was bad. Like they were just like almost attacking her. Like it was just like this.
Yeah.
This really involuntary action that was happening.
Yeah. Biology. Anyway.
Yeah. And so, I put her in the first night I got there. I put her in the car, and I was down at the hot springs. Those dogs were there, and they just wouldn't leave the car.
Yeah.
And I got on the road, and I was driving as fast as I could in the desert, and I'd stop for a minute, and they're just. I could not lose these dogs.
That's crazy.
Couldn't lose them. Like in a fucking car. Excuse my language. In a car. I couldn't lose these dogs. And then so I end up like getting frustrated, and I'm like, screw it. I'm going to just keep going. I go into this little wash, this little ravine. My car hits it and goes, and then it's nighttime. Everything shuts off and goes black.
Oh, shit.
And I'm like,
and this is like your first day
back?
back?
My first day back. And so I ended up being out there for 2 weeks, out in the middle of the desert in this wash, high-centered. And I didn't even open the engine. I didn't even want to see if it was permanent. And I was already thinking, okay, car's gone. It's going to be one of those permanent fixtures out here that turns into an art piece. I can handle it. It's all good.
I could live in an art piece.
Turns out just the battery cable. When I hit, the battery cable popped off.
Oh.
And so it just shut the car down.
You called your dad.
Yeah. So I was out there for a couple weeks with this tarp blanket over. I set up this tent. But
did the German Shepherds leave? The males? Oh.
No, they're still around. That's the only time I can honestly say, and it was justified that I've thrown rocks at a dog. It was justified. Trust me. If you were there, it'd have been more than rocks. But after like 48 hours of like being sieged,
oh my gosh,
it got pretty bad. And that's actually when right after that I decided to go get Gemma fixed.
Okay.
But the thing is, the person who owned those two dogs are like, oh, they're my males. It's all natural. I'm not cutting off their blah, blah, blah. Yeah. It's like, dude, then like there's at least 5 litters out there at that time of those dogs' puppies.
Oh my god.
And these people are poor.
Yeah.
Like they live in literal boxes and stuff that they build out of trash. Yeah. And you're just getting their dogs knocked up, and you're just sitting there going, "Oh, whatever." It's like, jeez, dude, come on. It's like it's one of those places, yeah, you can go and do your own thing, but still other people exist.
Yeah, yeah.
And it just blew my mind that he was so cool with that.
So your first 2 weeks going back to Slab City, you were stuck in the ravine.
Still trying to find a spot to set up camp.
Oh, there was no spots?
Well, I hadn't even gotten that far into Slab. That was like a mile into Slab City.
Oh, okay.
It's like barely into it, and then
How big is it? How many?
It's many square miles.
Okay.
There's concentrated areas where everybody is, but there are people out in the bushes.
Oh, okay.
Way out, and man, there's a lot of stories I'm remembering.
So you tried to find a spot.
Yeah, and then on the way about 200 yards later, I got stuck in the sand. So I've been out there for a long time. I know my way. I never got stuck. And then it was just, I got stuck one more time after that.
Oh, so these are all the red flags that you should have listened to.
Yeah, I should have listened to the universe with that one. And then I find this little wash that's like perfect to set up a little camp there. And I know it's a wash. I know you get washed out, but I wasn't planning on, it's like once a year that washes up.
Got it.
And then I met this one girl who ended up having this whole family.
With the kids.
Living, traveling school bus. And she just ended up being just off her rocker.
Yeah.
But she was very, she was very personable, and she's very manipulative.
Oh, okay.
So she can be normal.
Got it.
But then she can be crazy, but she's being crazy on purpose. So it's like, I know you're normal. Oh. So that lasted for a couple months. Yeah, that lasted for a couple months, and it felt like a couple of years.
Okay.
Because all of her kids were like, one of our kids was 12, didn't know how to read yet.
Oh.
And then there's this, 5-year-old running around just cussing like a sailor.
Oh my god.
There's just really vulgar stuff I don't even want to repeat. And I'm going, excuse me? But he doesn't have a father figure, and everybody laughs at it like it's funny. So a 6-year-old, a 5-year-old is going to be like, oh, I said something funny. And we keep saying it. Yeah. We said stupid stuff when we were kids. But he was talking like worse than a seasoned Marine at a bar would be talking. Like.
So you're with her for 2 months?
Yeah.
And then you're like, I'm going to go find a spot.
So there's a lot of VA stuff I had to get taken care of in Washington because I have to be on these refrigerated meds.
Okay.
And I went off of them, and it was getting pretty bad. And so I had to go back up to the hospital and get all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And turns out I'm not allowed to be irresponsible.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have to be around a fridge and electricity. At least once a month.
And you don't have that in Slab City?
No.
Okay, there's no electricity?
No, so we had a cooler.
Okay.
That had a rack on it to keep it cool.
Got it.
And stuff like that.
Okay.
Because it's like an injection.
Okay.
But it was funny. And
you take them daily?
Once a week.
Once a week.
Yeah.
Okay.
I used to have this syringe stuff, methotrexate, that I'd have to inject. So I had 2 different syringes. One of them you had to load yourself, so it looked like heroin needles. Right. Sorry if this is inappropriate. But I ran out of those needles. Oh. And then a friend of mine was like, hey, no, I know a guy, blah, blah, blah. We go to this RV, and this guy with long hair, he looks kind of strung out, but apparently he doesn't do drugs. Okay. Apparently. As he looks like he's on drugs. And he gave me a couple of syringes. He's like, hey, man, you want some product too? And I was like, no, it's for
product?
Like.
So you're in Slab City for just those 2 months, or
about 3 or 4 months after.
Okay, and then you came back up here.
Then I came back up.
Right.
So I came back up with her. So I took the seats out of my Nissan. No, her kids stayed back.
Oh.
Because there's a couple older kids.
Oh, because you were just here for a little bit. You weren't here for long.
So I was planning on just coming up, doing my hospital stuff, and heading back down to the desert. And then it turned out not to be a good idea traveling with her and this, and
Okay.
And so she had a Great Dane with her and my little Nissan. So we took out the back seats completely, and so the back went into the trunk. So there was like plenty of space to sleep for the dogs and stuff. So we get back, and then it ends up falling apart. Long story short, she went home on a Greyhound.
On a bus?
On a bus.
With her dog?
And I ended up staying up here, and I pretty much, that was like the third time I've lost everything. Like, everything I owned was just down in the desert, and I just let it go.
But you went back there a third time?
Yeah, just for a couple weeks.
Oh, okay.
I went with a friend up here, and they just wanted to visit. So it was like a real visit. Every time I've gone there, it was like, I'm going to be here forever.
Yeah.
But this one was like, I'm just going to be here for a second.
So all your stuff just stayed down there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got taken away, used, whatever.
So when you were there the second time, you were what, 30?
About?
Yeah.
31, 32, something like that.
Okay. And then you just stayed up here from then on?
Yeah. And then I moved back up here, and and yeah.
Yeah. And then you got married again?
No. So I went up to...
I'm thinking of the radio station girl.
Yeah, that's Dana.
Okay.
That's who I have a kid with.
Got it. Okay. So where'd you meet Dana?
We met at Farrell Farm up in Concrete.
What's Farrell Farm?
Farrell Farm is a permaculture farm. Have you heard of Blue Heron Farm?
No. When you say permaculture, what does that mean?
Stuff that's already there in nature, like berries and plants that grow in like a food forest, if you will.
Yeah.
And so permaculture is the act of using nature to transform nature and grow sustainably and naturally instead of like monocropping.
Oh, like making a garden bed.
Instead of making a garden bed and doing rows of stuff, you just use the forest and nurture what it already has. To produce more, and you can plant stuff in it. Like if this is a perfect habitat for a salmonberry bush, but there's no salmonberry there, you can transplant one there and make it more of a food forest.
Okay, so you worked there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I stayed there, and I was an intern there, meaning I picked berries.
Yeah.
There's this restaurant called The Willows. It's like this.
Where's that?
It's Camino Island, or would be it's Camino Island, I think. But it was one of those. They have like a Michelin star. $300 a thing, but they bring out like 12 little bites of food. It's one of those you go for the experience, not because you're hungry.
Okay.
But we picked berries for them.
Oh wow.
And they were charging like $300-$400 a plate.
Wow.
And we're sitting out there like picking berries for the right to be on a farm that's off grid. It's like, oh, thanks. And he's like getting all the money. It's like, yeah, it's
You're
all
picking
good.
berries for a Michelin restaurant. Like,
you
should be excited about it.
But it was great. I was still kind of in that magical things are good hippie thing. I started dreads because after she went back down.
You had dreads?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
After
Do you have a picture?
No, not on me. I left my wallet at home. My VA card has my dreads on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But so after she went back down, I was still in my car and had nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But I get free camping as a disabled vet, so I'd stay at state parks.
Oh, okay.
In my Nissan, just sitting in there.
Is that the same Nissan you drove here?
No, that's my Jeep. No.
Okay.
I grew up a bit.
Okay.
Got a real car.
Okay, so you're at the farm. And then you met Dana.
Yeah, we were there for a few months before we even talked to each other.
Yeah.
Type thing.
Yeah.
Because, I'm this cocky. I told everybody, I did security for the president. I'm a Marine. And I was just like trying to build myself up for some reason. Apparently, those type of people don't take too, like, they're like, okay, care. Whatever. Yeah. So, I learned. It's all good. But, and then so we ended up hanging out. And then, after 2 days after talking, we spent the next 3 days naked out in the woods. Just
While
hiking.
You were foraging? Oh. Yeah,
just hiking, foraging, went out to the river, stuff like that. But just as friends, because it was like one of those.
Wait, why were you naked?
Because it's the woods, man. Have you ever been naked out in the middle of the woods?
No.
Then you wouldn't know. It's amazing. Like, being naked is the best thing in the world, especially when nobody cares about the naked part.
Are you wearing shoes?
No.
Because that's my...
No, we went barefoot everywhere.
I have really sensitive feet. That's my biggest concern. I don't care about anything else, but I feel like my feet would hurt.
I used to not wear shoes all the time. Now I don't wear shoes a lot. Like, when I pulled in, I had to put my socks and shoes on. I was like, she's gonna think I'm weird coming out barefoot.
You told me you're weird though.
Yeah. And but yeah,
like, she thinks almond milk is weird. I'm not wearing shoes.
Like, almond milk, please.
Okay, so you were hiking naked in the woods for 3 nights.
Yeah, for 3 days, 3 nights, and we found this spot on the Sauk River.
Okay.
And then pretty much that night is when we started hanging out from then on, I guess. And yeah.
Got it.
And then we just became completely useless interns. Like, we were like the 2 best people there working, doing all that stuff, and then we just like met up, and then we just like became like just starting to fire with wet wood. There's no like, oh, you pick berries? It's like, we're gonna be over here.
We're gonna go make out over there.
Yeah.
So, see you later.
All the magical,
Wait, so you had a beard?
A beard?
No, like it looks way more fuller here.
Yeah, no, I get pretty full pretty
Did
quick.
you lose a bunch of weight?
Lost quite a bit.
I was gonna say this didn't even look like you.
I'm like 40 pounds.
Well, I guess it was 7 years ago or 6 years ago.
Like 40 pounds lighter.
Yeah.
Than I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the movie. So there was something in there about a documentary to do with the homeless.
Yeah. So it's my whole goal with it was trying to get. It sounds really dumb, actually.
Stop.
Now that you're like. So once you learn a few things about, of course, you're like younger and you're all optimistic about, I could do that.
Yeah.
Don't tell me no. And now it's like, oh, I should have. That's so dumb. Because I've had a lot of experiences with like the first family and the president and having conversations with them and just being around that like highest of the high type people and really rich people and you have to take a class on learning how to eat around them.
Okay.
To being on the street, sleeping next to a guy under a bridge.
Yeah.
And being able to get along really well with all of them.
Yeah.
So trying to find a common way to say, this is what this person's experiencing, and this is their point of view, getting it across to the person the other side saying this is their point of view. Mm-hmm. It's because each of those extremes hate each other so much. But I mean, I love them both because, it's just people are people, but people have certain perspectives on people.
And so you can't get them in the same room. So what you can do, though, is make a film.
Yeah.
And then show it to everybody.
That says, here's how this person is, and this is how these people are, and just trying to, like that's what kind of No Man Land did. Dang it. You know what I mean? It kind of showed that perspective on those people who live like that, and that they're not all just... Because a person, normal, has a house, has a job, think, oh, you just travel and you're in an RV and you're just a bum or you're a gypsy or you're a this or you're that. And it's like, like, are you living your best life though?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But.
So that documentary didn't happen.
I had a friend who did a lot of computer stuff. Yeah. And we're at the American Legion. We're transferring, it was like 4 or 5 terabytes worth of footage from that whole thing over to a computer to another one. It was mid-transfer, and this other guy comes in, the third person, because we weren't there, because it was one of those things that's going to take all night. Okay. And he comes in, he's like, oh, and he shuts down the computer, corrupted everything. Oh. And so my producers, everybody was like, dude, like we still, like, I still have a couple of previews online that are just kind of like there. Yeah. And a couple of things are misspelled in it too, so it's like... But they sent it to Pixar, and Pixar was like, oh, we got it all. And I'm like, oh, sweet. That's great. And I got it back, and all the files were there. I'm like, yeah, and I click on it, and all of them are empty.
Oh, no.
It's like they recovered, like, the little file thing, but none of the content in the file.
And was this after the Slab City film?
The initial one, yeah. This is right after I got back from Slab City the first time, and I was doing the Commander at the American Legion thing. Yeah, I've always worked and did the full-time thing and all that, but my body and brain can't keep up with it much anymore. Yeah. So it's just like, because it's autoimmune. I almost lost my eye a couple years ago.
Wait, so how long have you worked at the mill place?
Like a year.
Okay. Yeah.
A year.
Yeah, and now you're not doing that.
No, I can get a job whenever. I can go back whenever I need to. Yeah. But
and so where are you going to move in Cedar Woolley?
By Riverfront Park. So if you look at the park and look left, there's a couple of trees, and right under that tree is a bush, and right under that bush is a nice little... No, I'm kidding.
I was gonna say, you can park your car out in our pasture.
No, I have a room
totally
in
fell for it.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
His cabin was right next to ours.
To meet him and.
Oh yeah, no, I hung out with Peace Wizard quite a bit.
Wow.
Yeah, I guess my favorite memory about him, I was doing this wood stacking job, and he was living in this yurt, and he'd come out in his boxers, and just start talking. And he actually, one thing that he said that really stuck with me, he said, because there's a lot of political weird stuff going on, and kind of talk about that. He's like, well, I had a dream, like a vision a while ago, how he talks, and he said that there's all these people in this bar and fighting, arguing and stuff, and I really wanted to go in there and like sort it all out. But long story short, it was better him stay on the hill and be in peace himself rather than becoming just part of that mess. Because if everybody was part of that mess, nobody would be at peace, and all this stuff. So pretty much don't worry about all the crap and just stay on your own personal hill type thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But he said it way more elegantly.
I didn't even know who he was until he passed away.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd seen pictures. There's a picture of him in the liquor store, but I didn't really know who he was. And then when he passed away, people started talking about him more.
Yeah, John. His name
is John.
Yeah, he's been a friend, but kind of an acquaintance for me. Like, we'd see each other, he'd say, hey, Bam.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'd be like, hey, what's up? And we'd talk and hang out, play guitar, stuff like that. But there's a lot of people he was much closer with, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
But
nice.
No, it's pretty cool. Pretty good guy.
All right. Well, I think I have a lot of material. We just hit 2 hours.
Well, I have a lot of...
I'm excited.
You brought up a lot of memories that would make really fun stories,
we can
actually.
Do part 2. We'll do part 2 at some point.
There's some really fun stories, like with me and like a couple of presidents.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, and people out in Slab City, some really wild stuff.
Yeah.
It'd be pretty interesting.
So presidents, more Slab City.
Presidents, more Slab City.
See, we have to have like a teaser so people will tune in.
So
part 2.
I almost killed a president, and I saved a president's life.
What? Which one did you almost kill?
Bush Sr.
And which one did you save?
Jr. 2 separate occasions.
Oh, not on the same day.
Yeah, not on the same day. Yeah, because that would have been one hell of a day,
Wow.
But yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, and there's like, I don't know, like the time me and Bush hung out naked.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I wasn't naked because that would have been weird. But he was naked.
No, where was he? Like in
he was
the
at
sauna?
the gym. He never really sat in the sauna.
How far away were you? Like, does someone always have to be...
Our legs were sweated together at one point.
No,
I can tell you this story about that. Are we too late? Can I tell you one
No, we're not late.
interesting naked story for the president?
Okay.
Since nudity has been a subject of the show. Swear I'm not weird, man.
Get nude with Liz and Bryan. Okay.
Naked cardboard box. No, so...
so you said this was senior or junior?
This was junior. This one.
Junior. Okay.
Yeah. So this one doesn't have to do with saving or killing any of them. This is just a separate. 2006.
Okay.
I want to say 2006, 2007. Probably 2007.
So that's when I was like, I'm selling my car and going to New Zealand, and you were like, hey, press. Okay.
Yeah. No, it was all downhill from there. So it's all good. I peaked at 22, and then the rest is just kind of like a slow downhill.
What you're saying, being on my podcast is not a peak?
Oh, of course it is. There's little bumps.
Now you're coming up. Okay.
So anyway, we're in the gym just like normal, and everything like that, and he gets done with his workout and everything.
Is it like a Planet Fitness, a private gym?
It's like a private little gym.
Why? But why does he need security if it's private?
I wasn't security.
Oh.
I was a gym attendant because when I was doing security, I had all my bones fall apart, and then I got put into the admin role.
Okay.
And then the admin role fills when the president is there. They fill that role.
Okay, so you were in the gym. Okay.
Yeah, I was in the gym. I was wearing sweats and a polo.
Okay.
With the little presidential seal on it.
Okay.
And so I just sat there and handed him water. They said, it's the president's personal trainer. It's like, I haven't got one day of flipping training to be anybody's personal trainer. You think I'm just going to tell him, you need to do this many reps and do
You're
this,
curling
this?
wrong.
It's like, geez. Like, of course not. I don't even know how. I never even used the weights because my bones were bad. And so I would secretly just like try to like fake it and then like be on the bike. I was one of those Marines that wasn't all gung ho because everything hurt.
You weren't David
all
Goggins.
the time.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't a stellar Marine, but I was enough to be there.
Got it.
You know.
Okay.
But so he gets done with his stuff. He gets naked, and I'm sitting in this chair, and right where that typewriter is where the scale is.
Okay.
And so he gets naked, and he kind of stands on it for a second, and then I see him out of the corner of my eye look at me. He just looks over, and he looks back at the scale. He looks over. It was a solid like 15, 20 seconds of like, what can I do for you? You know? And so he goes, hey, do you know how to work this thing? I was
The
like,
scale?
oh, yeah. I was like, oh, yeah, it's a digital one. Like, and so I went over and started pushing the buttons, and this weird symbol and a zero, like on the other side, like 5 inches apart, would just show up. So it wasn't like a word. It was just 2 letters. And it kept blinking and then turning off.
Oh.
Okay, and then I can step on it again. And then so after like 2 or 3 minutes of like me and the president trying to figure out this digital scale, and so we were both on our haunches, you know, and his leg was stuck to mine. And naked, we're just like literally just working on this like an engine together, just like hitting it like Zoolander, like, oh, the files are in the computer. And he's like, well, I'm just going to go home and use that one. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So he goes back using his skill, does this thing. And then I call one of the control operations, one of my buddies. I was like, hey, you know, these things are showing up on the thing. He's like, what's showing up? And it's like this L, and then like 5 inches later it has a 0. And then it blinks, and then it turns off. He goes, oh, who's asking? Well, president was just here. It's not working. He's like, seriously? And he goes, dude, it has a low battery. Because LO kept popping up. It was low, like low blinks. And so, yeah, just messed around with the scale for a little bit. World leader. And,
couldn't figure that out.
Yeah. But, yeah, no, I guess you could say we kind of cuddled naked.
Okay, that was the end of part 1. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having
fun.
me. I think we've kind of shotgunned it, didn't talk about anything specifically for any sort of time, but
there's no agenda.
hopefully it's somewhat interesting.
Yes. Well, I'll make it interesting.
Okay.
All right.
Perfect.
Thanks, Bryan.
Thank you.